everyone. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It was a beautiful day. The 242. Beautiful, slightly, perfectly sunny, maybe. Who knows? It was hot. All I can tell you, it was hot. I was on the road today, and it was maybe for about an hour and a half, but that was very long. It was a very long hour and a half because this heat don't play. And I must admit to everyone, I passed the ocean. I drove by the beach. And then I said, damn it, no, I'm not driving past. And I pulled up to the beach. Yes, I did. I pulled up. Now, I'm not sure if what I'm about to confess will put me in jail, so I'm not going to confess that extra. But I will tell you that the water is very tempting. It is beautiful. Oh, my goodness. It is picture perfect. I didn't go in to swim. At least I could say that. But I'll tell you, it was candid camera day, okay? It was candid camera day, and the shoreline has footprints in the sand. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. But it could have been somebody else's footprints, so y'all can't come for me. All right? Thanks. And any photos are up in the cloud. Let me see you get that, Mr. Spyware, Spygate, Spy Bill people. Y'all got me jonesing for the beach. And all I do is float. That's all I do. But what I wouldn't give right now to be in the waters of this beautiful, beautiful, pristine waters. I mean, it's gorgeous. We have a great show for you today. And I'll tell you why we have a great show for you today. But before I get to that, I have a story to tell. This is one of the reasons why that you have those folks, those groups say you need to lock people down. And I realize it ain't all people, I think it's just a lot of old people. Old people need to get locked down. You said, Nahaja, why you say that? Because I got old parents. And for some reason, my old parents are just roaders. Hashtag just road old parents. Okay? I'm supposed to go and hail my father today, who I hadn't seen in a month. I hadn't seen my daddy in a month, trying to be a good citizen, lock it down. My children didn't see him since the oldest child's birthday in July. So we're talking a whole month. Go looking for this just road man. He's supposed to be expecting us. I say to Papi, where are you? You know what the man says? Oh, you were supposed to come today. I mean, like, didn't we talk this morning? What happened? We spoke this morning. Oh yeah, no, I'm right now, baby. I in the middle of a tournament. What? Whose whole tournament in pandemics? I don't even want to know. But see, that's why they want to lock these people down. Tournament. It's virtual. I didn't even know a man could use a computer. Okay? I didn't even know he knew how to do that. But it's virtual. So why you ain't home, Mr. Virtual Computer? Because mine ain't working. Okay? You see why you gotta lock people down? Where's Hubcat? He ain't even in quarantine, but I feel like I should quarantine him. I feel like I should go ahead and ruin his constitutional rights and lock him down. This is what's going on here. But I hope everybody's enjoying your day, taking care of yourself, doing all of the necessary preparations as a hurricane is heading our way, making sure that you are, that you can help someone. If your neighbor needs help boarding up, let's do that as well as we can. Well, the hurricane ain't here yet, but let's plan in advance for that. Hoping that folks are getting sorted out with NIB. I had some good news heard some good news for a couple who were struggling getting their NIB assistance one since March, the other more recently. And the good news is that they're working. I want to send a shout out to the staff. There's a lot of negative that is said about our public service workers. But I will tell you, in my experience, not being Nahaja Black radio personality today, because apparently that has mileage and I didn't know that. So I'm just going with the fact that I'm learning now that I'm not Nahaja who didn't know anybody Nahaja. Like I still feel like I'm just same old me. But I'm telling you that I've experienced the good and the bad, but I realize even now talking to people during this pandemic, there are a lot of folks who aren't going home during the normal working hours after work. This is not the normal process. People are last night, there was one of the managers, in one of these government entities, till 12 o'clock, she's still at work. 12 this morning, still at work, trying to make sure that people are getting sorted out. There are many Bahamians who are working in these front lines, who are going above and beyond because they feel the pain for a lot of us. So it's not we need to be mindful of our rhetoric, and that includes me too. And sometimes your anger, your emotion gets the better of you, and you say things that you will probably forget. That's why they tell you when you're angry, if you're in marriage, walk away. Don't say anything. If you're too hot, walk away, because what you say you can't take it back, you know. And I know from the scripture, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak it. I believe that joint. Sometimes you say some stuff to your spouse and you mean that, but not in the way that you said it. It wasn't supposed to land that heavy. You knew it was going to hurt. One of the things you learn it in counseling is they say women, our words are far more daggers, are far heavier than men. Like we have the ability to cut a brother down to size. Now, mind you, that was never my issue, even though I'm very eloquent. I'm a calm woman. Dr. E is my guest. She don't know yet, but I'm a calm woman.
I believe you.
Thank you. Thank you. I use restraint. You have to use restraint because it comes with wisdom, right? You have to be wise. And, you know, child, sometimes some things could come out and you want it to hurt, but you know it'll hurt longer if you just keep it in, calm down, and don't, you know, say what you got to say. Even though John Mayer says, say what you mean, say what you need to say. That boy lie. He ain't want us to say that. That brother don't know. If you, he don't know. Anyways, y'all, I felt the need to today, after all that has been going on, all that has transpired in our country these past few months, and you know, we have had constantly on the show, one of the things that's very important to me is that we are whole people, and I always invite professionals, especially in mental health, to join the show, because we are a society with open secrets. Dr. Nyambi Campbell-Hall-Dean, did I say all of that right? That's powerful.
Yes,
Just say, and she ain't even here. She ain't even here to hear that. My goodness. Well, Dr. Nyambi Campbell-Hall-Dean, one of the things she says is we are a country of open secrets. And she's so right. We are people that carry our burdens. We do not ask for help, I find. And we are not cognizant, most of us, of when we're breaking, but we do go to church. And, you know, I think that's a fascinating thing. So in this time, I know for sure that there are a lot of us carrying, you know, this is, even for those who are not financially stressed, we are still in a space that is very unusual. No one should be okay, or should be deemed okay. We should all be aware of everyone, even those who are smiling, those who have the loudest jokes. That we are going through something. This is not the norm. Humans are social beings. And if the only social people, your only humans you're interacting with is your family, your immediate family, and sometimes those immediate people you don't want to be around.
Right.
The choices that are being made because of finances, there are some immoral choices being made because of finances, but yet they are survival choices that require no judgment. So we have people who are struggling. I tell you, I can only imagine in this time how many women are making choices to feed their children that they wouldn't make if they had money in their pocket. How many, you know, brothers are doing things that they would have never seen themselves doing when you have a crying baby at home. So we are struggling with choices and conflicted with options. We don't want to be lawbreakers, but you got to eat. We don't want to be lawbreakers, but there is that. I can't imagine not having diapers. You got to go. That's right. So today's show has to be about the mental health of the people, because I myself am finding myself fatigued emotionally. Apart from just having a child, which I was already fatigued, there is that there was no celebration for me. You know, Doc, I didn't have the shower. I didn't have the big get out of the hospital and family come and visit, and none of that, right? I could tell you how many hours my father spent with his grandchild. Wow. And that's hours because, you know, the grandmother was able to stay over. But there wasn't that big, all of that excitement with all of this. That was one phase. Going in through the hospital and not having your spouse there, that's a process. How many people had to do that? Imagine if you were on a public ward. No one comes to see you on a public ward.
No.
I had a friend, a teacher of mine, she had her child in the public ward and her husband was nowhere to be seen. At least mine was able to come into the surgery room with me for the C-section at that time. So there are emotional issues. You are locked away for so long. You may be that type of person who needs the village, but the village can't help you. right? Because you can't take your child to spend the night or spend a long evening, then you have to pick them up by 7 o'clock. So you still didn't get that reprieve after all day trying to get some shopping or whatnot done. You're still not getting that reprieve. You don't want to send your child to Grammy at this point because you don't want to make Grammy sick. It's just so much that people are taking in. And so it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot that's going on. And I think that we, every day when you hear the COVID numbers, that's another jab on your soul.
Yeah.
You know?
I think right now, we're calling it COVID fatigue. We're all at a place that we have COVID fatigue, and we can't go places we normally would go. We can't get the respite or the help from the people who would normally help us out. We're tired. We want to know the numbers, but we're tired of hearing them at the same time. We're tired of finding resources right now. It's just the fatigue is setting in because it's just always something else. It's that, but this and this. And so I think right now, I don't think anybody's doing 100% okay. I'd be very surprised if people are saying that they're 100% okay. Like that, I'm with you. Stop right now, because I mean, I'm a clinician. Like I told you earlier, I came out of sessions all day, and people are just to the places where they're just feeling lonely. You might not have, you're not alone, but you feel lonely, and we could have dealt with that for 2 months, but now we're reaching on we're approaching 4 months, right?
5 months.
5 months.
5 months.
And we don't have an end date. So usually, like I use the analogy of vacation. When you have vacation come in, you just act different. Like,
yes,
you go to work, and even if somebody get on your nerves, you still will be like, man, it don't matter. 2 more days, 5 more days, 1 week. It. You get something to look forward to. We're at a place where we don't know when the end is. And then on top of it, for those of us who, of course, in the Bahamas, we are getting rules thrown at us on a daily basis and not consistent through the day. So we're having to adapt even more. And I mean, we're all experiencing right now what we call secondary trauma. It's secondary trauma.
Secondary trauma. Okay, that's new. Okay, good.
And that is that emotional duress that results when an individual hears about not only those firsthand trauma experiences, but after a while, that leads to prolonged stress and can lead to burnout, because we're tired of just dealing. I know for me yesterday, I had to get off social media for a minute. I mean, I have to go on, obviously, to check some business stuff, but every now and then I go on it for a reprieve. I like to laugh at the memes or look at the stories, and I have a few comedians I like to go to like, remind you like this just ain't it.
It's okay.
But yesterday when I opened and within the first, I would say 10 seconds, I saw like 2 or 3 posts that were just like, to me, they were cry outs. I got off. And I had to tell my clients yesterday, I was like, I need you all to take a break today. I need you to not go on social media. Usually I would tell them, we all have this, that's one of our coping mechanisms right now.
Yeah.
Because it was just too much. You got overwhelmed. I don't think anybody was okay yesterday. I don't think anybody was.
And so, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, so we're all living with that secondary trauma now, where we're experiencing stuff that, even if it's not directly for us, it's so close to us that we're living through the process. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, Dr. Edrika Richardson, we call her lovingly Dr. E, and I love that now she has this fancy backdrop, and I'm the one here, still here with the one floral portrait behind me that I need to revamp. Don't forget, you can follow us on YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube as well. YouTube.com. You can type in Nahaja Black, and the channel is right there. Subscribe and share. If you missed any part of yesterday's show, in particular with Dr. Susan Williams Lockhart, you missed too much. Go right there and watch it, rewatch it. It was an excellent discussion and what I call a tutorial on what COVID-19 really is. How do you catch it? Why do we have to be prepared, or take the necessary precautions about HCQ, hydroxychloroquine, I think that's the name. Yeah. And how do we, what can we do to help ourselves in terms of vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. It was really, really a wonderful discussion with Dr. Williams, not to take away from CA and Nuri, who joined me in the first half, but that wasn't that good.
Did CA get trouble?
We always do. It's just a norm. Dr. E here, we're talking about our mental, emotional health, y'all. And it is very, very important. And the reason why it is because I wonder sometimes, Dr. E, are we even aware when we're not doing well? Do we know what not doing well is? Like someone for me, I'm an introspective person.
Mm-hmm.
And I consider myself, and maybe that's that guilt too. You know, there's a part of you that, you know what, I'm not needing to yeah, panic over resources, but I'm still concerned,
Right.
if that makes sense. So I have to be wise on, we have to as a family be wise on how we spend, but there isn't a fear at this point of losing my home. There
Okay.
isn't a fear of the lights being cut off. There
Mhm.
isn't a fear of the water, but even though the water people say, Nahaja, you need to come in. I mean, hey, I forget about them. But even as a fear of, there's no fear of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
A part of me then has this where, okay, I'm speaking for it or about it, but I'm not experiencing it. And I feel that burden for those who are struggling. And there's such a weight there, Doc.
That's
What
a
if
secondary, that's secondary stress. That's
that's it? That's what
secondary
it
trauma.
is.
That's exactly what it is. And
Mm,
so I think for a lot of us, we don't know exactly what it looks like because we don't usually know it's happening till it's happening. Like I said, for me yesterday, it started, I woke up heavy. And I woke up heavy because I knew what people were going through the day before with the up and down with the information. And um, I think we definitely all need to work on our empathy and
yeah.
speech these days,
Yes.
um, because that unnecessarily creates instances of trauma that can happen in language that we use on a daily basis. But some of the things we all have to look at right now is that I'm sure all of us are having more excessive worrying or fears. We're feeling excessively sad. Maybe we're confused. Mood changes. I don't know if some people are experiencing that. Like it just happened out of a whim. Um, Maybe you're avoiding your friends. Maybe you're changing your, of course, we got to look at the habits, your sleep habits, your eating habits, even changing your sex drive. All of those right now are the difficulties
Really?
in
I know
our
you got some
reality.
fellas right now be like, okay, hold on, let me stop. Let me pay attention.
But those are things that you have to pay attention to. If you're overusing substances or you notice you're just starting to pick up the use in substances, maybe you didn't use them before. Maybe you are thinking about suicide. That's a very strong reality right now. Um, because the inability to care for those daily activities you would normally do, when they start to become heavy, that's when those are some clear signs that you're not okay, that everything around you is starting to feel a little bit more weighty than normal. Um, those are things you should really start to look for because right now we have to pay a little more attention to ourselves because we, even like you said, the strong, healthy ones of us aren't normal right now. We
Yeah.
aren't, we are you picking up the phone like on it to check in on your friends? And I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you don't want to pick up the phone because you're just so tired
Mm-hmm.
of dealing with all of the information that you've gotten that day. But if you notice, okay, it's Monday to Friday. If you can't do that at least 2 days a week, because you used to be a 5-day person, then you really are starting. This is starting to get to you.
Mm.
This is really starting to get to you.
So okay, that's a great point to jump off on when we come back from the break. When do you start? What are the indicators that you are not okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what are the degrees of not okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That there's some that are functional, that some that, hey, listen, it's to be expected. This one is a warning sign. You're in the red zone.
Right.
And for those people who have been prone to depression or anxiety, what does this time look like? Um, to be honest with you, I believe that we as women, we tend to be more connected to our emotional side.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a great concern, a greater concern for my men, my brothers, because I think that they have not been weak. I don't know if they know it's okay to address the difference or see the difference and to um, handle it, right? Because I think there's data to show that when men decide that they're going to get rid of their lives or take their lives, they are more successful than women.
Right.
They tend to make up their mind,
Because
right?
they go straight for the lethal methods, a big part of that is they they haven't. been made comfortable or safe enough to express their emotional selves without it being a question of their masculinity.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think we
Yeah.
definitely, so don't let me go over the break, but
No.
we definitely have to make sure that we create safe spaces for men right now who are dealing with all of this. I had a client recently whose both of their parents were sick. A family member had passed away, and right now there's a pileup of bills and no resources to facilitate the bills, and he's the provider of the household because the wife isn't working. And I just said to him right now, I know you're not okay. I just know you're not okay.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what, this is the first time somebody asked me that, because
Yeah.
I've just been going and going. And so people just assume that everything's fine. And I said, well, if you don't want to be okay right now, that's fine. And then we kept talking more and more. And then I think that he heard it. He listened. He heard me first, but he listened to it and he started to break down.
Mm-hmm. And that's the reality. I want us to dive into that more because I really am. I find in my heart, because I know we as ladies will capture this. We will receive this.
Right.
There are men who will hear this and then change the dial because it's too emotional. It's too connecting. You see, it doesn't. And my fear and my concern is that I need them to stop, pause, self-assess, because we as women need our men.
Yes.
We cannot exist without them, no matter how strong and how independent we are. That is a function of the things that we've achieved.
And how much they get on our nerves. We still want them
exactly. Exactly. Trust. So, and you know, and I want my brothers to know that I love y'all. We need y'all, and your mental health is important, because if you're mentally healthy, you're not going to snap and beat your wife to death. If you're mentally healthy, you're going to look at creative ways to help your whole family stay healthy.
Right.
And that is very important. And so we're going to touch on all of this, but I want you, my brothers, to listen, to stick and stay. This is for you, especially. I know Dr. E didn't realize that, but I really, really want my men, all ages, to pause. And my sisters, obviously, you know, we do our station identification. We just need to quiet ourselves when the turmoil gets too loud, to center, refocus, reconnect, embrace and release, as my friends in college we used to say. Embrace the trauma, release the pain. Embrace it. Know that it happened, but release the pain and move forward. We got Dr. Adrika Richardson here on the show with us. When you come back, more with us here on Guardian 96.9 FM and streaming live on YouTube, The Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
With the outbreak of COVID-19, we find ourselves having to be more self-sufficient, socially aware, and technically savvy. At J.S. Johnson, we remain committed to our customers during this global pandemic. Our Nassau and Freeport branches are open to assist you remotely, Monday to Friday, between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Call 397-2100 or email info@jsjohnson.com. Be safe, Bahamas. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
The Clearing Banks Association wants to protect you from fraud and cybercrime. That's why they've asked the experts to give you the latest information and alert you to the scams and schemes you may be exposed to through your email and social media accounts. On Wednesday, August 26th, Nahaja Black will moderate the virtual town hall on her show, The Hit Back, on Guardian Radio 96.9 from 4 to 6 p.m. If you have questions, you can call the show at 323-6232. The panelists are Sumitra McKinney from Central Bank, Dr. Raymond Wells from Carapace InfoSect, Chief Superintendent Matthew Edgecombe from the Financial Crime Investigation Branch, and Gamal Nuri, Chairman of the Clearing Banks Fraud and Security Subcommittee. Tune in on Wednesday, August 26th from 4 to 6 p.m. on Guardian Radio 96.9 for the virtual town hall on fraud and cybersecurity, brought to you by the Clearing Banks Association.
It's the beginning of the hurricane season, and Fidelity Bank is giving you one less thing to worry about. We're not able to control a storm or its path, but we can prepare for it as much as possible. With every debt consolidation loan, Fidelity is giving away fully loaded hurricane kits valued at $200 with all the hurricane essentials you'll need to weather the unexpected storms of life. It's that easy. Sign up for a debt consolidation loan, open an ASUS savings or fixed deposit, and walk away with a free hurricane kit. At Fidelity, we're committed to helping you through these difficult times. Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Sometimes when we think we're
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We've got Dr. Edrika Richardson joining us here live on the show, and she can tell she's also doing her wonderful work on the background. Good to have you, Dr. E. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me, and some of the people who are watching said, what a great topic. They're so happy you decided to do this.
Excellent. Well, tell them, don't forget, follow us live on YouTube. And of course, anyone else, if you have questions, feel free to text us. You know the text lines, but my producer will send me the numbers. For some reason, y'all, I am not good with remembering numbers. If you need me to call you an emergency,
look, if your dad can figure out, you need to do better, because you should feel some type of way.
Listen, I be lineman when it comes to phone numbers. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. So y'all need to pray my strength in the Lord. I really do try. But okay. I know my mother's phone number, my husband's phone number, my sister. Yep, okay. That's about it. Yep, that's where I stop.
Okay, you're right.
And my mother-in-law.
I probably have like maybe 5 to 10 numbers, but I have a good
experience. In your head?
Yeah, because I have to save my memory for my clients. So, yeah, don't be offended. Like sometimes I know when I switched.
5 to 10 is good though. I'm max 6. Max, and that includes my own number.
Hold on, you might be right.
Yeah, max 6, and that includes, and I have 2 numbers. So technically it's really 4. And the 2 numbers I have, I'm not good at this thing. So yeah, Arlie, please send me the studio numbers. I would really appreciate that all the way. So please, look at Arlie, my best producer. My producer's the bomb diggity. The call-in numbers are 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. The numbers are 323-6232, 325-4316, and 325-4259. And of course, you can text us at 422-4796. That's 422-4796. And where I should remember it, which I don't, is 422-GR96, Guardian Radio 96 FM. You get it? You got it?
Yeah.
You got it?
It's okay. You have mommy brain. Yeah.
Well, Charles lasted longer than, maybe let's go 7 years prior. You 9 years? You're right. I got mommy brain. That's a good long excuse trade. All right, we got Dr. E here, and we're talking about mental health. We're talking about our mental health and what she calls COVID fatigue, which rightly so is a wonderful terminology. I hope we coin it and write a book on it and whatnot, right? So that we get a good sense of this. I think, and the reason why I'm glad we're doing this show is because I knew I was not in a good space. I was just telling a friend today, I need this show for me. This is free therapy. I'm sorry, Dr. E, but you're here. I might as well get it for free. It is one of those things where and people have different things going on in their life, right? In their lives. Everybody has something different going on in their life. I think, already with me being sleep deprived and the business that I'm in, my husband said to me today, I said, I can't shut it off, right? I can't stop learning more, knowing more, because I'm in this business where when I come on the radio every day, I have to be informed. And
we appreciate that though. And let me say that to a part of somebody who looks at you for the news or for things I need to be aware of. We want to say thank you too, because we know sometimes y'all don't get enough sleep in trying to make sure we're informed of everything that's going on. So we're appreciative.
It should just make a Black girl, like, I'm already blushing. It's like I'm already shining, but thank you. And it's a thing. It's really, all of us, all of the, not us, because I don't consider myself frontline, but all of the frontline people who are also carrying that extra burden, and people who know stuff they wish they didn't know. And You know, you're carrying information that you wish you didn't hear, or things you wish you didn't see, but you feel like there's a part of you that must share it. So all of that said is, I realized that I'd come to a place where I needed a station identification and introspection and strategies to release the tension, right? I can't even go to the masseuse. That was always a strategy. Just go get a full body massage.
Yeah.
You know, you can't even do that now with COVID concerns. You can't walk on the beach, which was always therapeutic for me, mentally, spiritually. Spend an hour sitting on the beach, go in the water, get my mind clear, find that quiet space, and journal, whatnot. Can't do that. So there's a lot of changes that are going on. But when we were, so that's why I wanted us to do this show, because I consider myself to be in a mentally healthy space most times. I'm a strong individual. I do those things when I know that I need to get into a proper headspace. I tend to go into my own retreat mode and get centered and come back. But then there are a lot of people who don't do that, and a lot of folks who may not know that they need to take a time out and don't know what a time out looks like when you don't have food. There's some needs that got to be dealt with first before a lot of parents do that too, where they deal with their children, all the needs.
Right. And then they'll deal with themselves. So that is literally, I don't know if everybody's heard about it, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes to mind. And he did this pyramid years ago, Abraham Maslow, in case you guys want to look it up. And he talked about the human needs. And he called it a hierarchy of needs because he says that the pyramid goes from the bottom up. And if you don't get the things at the bottom fulfilled first, you're never going to get to this place of, the ultimate place is self-actualization. But higher than that, they found out years later, is something called self-transcendence. And so self-actualization to me is like, it's kind of feeling at peace. Transcendence to me is like being like Buddha. Like you just ain't nothing is going to disturb you. It don't even matter if there's a new thing out there, or you just so good, like nothing gets that. But the first level of that pyramid is your physiological needs, your need for survival. And so you're absolutely right. As humans, until we know how we're going to eat, where we're going to sleep, we can't think of anything else, because it's in our natures for self-preservation. So right now, I get the fact that everybody, there's a balancing act of trying to be your brother's keeper, but also how do I make sure that me and my family have enough for today or even tomorrow? Because the scarcity is there, that concern is there. And I think that the first thing people have to do is admit where that concern is. And I don't know if we've gotten the narrative for too long that we have to be independent, right? We got to do everything by ourselves. So we don't really know how to ask. We don't know how to reach out. And I'm not even talking about strangers. I'm talking about our families. We don't even know how to, this is a time where you should be pooling resources. Like for yesterday, the food store where my sister's family is, there wasn't the milk that the kids needed. So when my mom went, she got the milk. But that's the things that we do. We say, okay, if we don't have it here, when y'all go, could you get it for us? But nice. We have to think and do stuff like that now, because our neighbors, our friends, our family members, let's start with them, check in with them to see if they just have enough stuff right now. And I know a lot of us grew up on the mentality of, you gotta figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
But I think we have to realize independence is knowing when to ask for help or when to even lend a helping hand. Let me say that again. Independence is knowing when to ask for help or when to give a helping hand. If you think that, well, you know someone in your family who hasn't worked for the last 4 or 5 months, and I've seen the picture, I'm sure that picture with the guy getting the $15 check or whatever like that. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, if you think, depending on the job they've had, they haven't been able to buy a whole stack of groceries, and you can just, don't ask questions, just give.
Yeah.
And our neighborhood still does it. I am so proud to say that I live in a neighborhood where because we've been here older than me, so I'm not going to say how long that is, but decades, couple of them. And if the neighbors who've been here long, like my mom was one of the first people in the neighborhood. So her and the people who've been here for that duration, if one neighbor at the end of the street has, we always getting something. The neighbor next door, when he grows, we get something. When we have stuff, we exchange. We don't wait.
That's great.
We
I need to move in your neighborhood.
We have to go back to that, because one of the things I used to tell people about the Bahamas was that we are a giving country. We may not have a lot, but we have a lot because we shared everything that we had. And sometimes, sometimes I'll round my mom and be like, could you like not give us much this week? Well, my grandmother didn't listen to any of us when she was alive. You'd better, if you leave it here, 50% chance it's not gonna be there when you get back.
That's right.
But I'm saying that to say that if we go back to some of our principles of what got us to this place right now as a country, I think we'd be in a different position. We would share. And so the burden you talk about, where people are going for those survival needs, we'd be able to cushion it a bit more.
Yeah. I agree with you.
We got to go back to that.
If you're just tuning in, Dr. Adrika Richardson here. We're talking about, COVID fatigue, the effects of it, what it looks like, and how do we progress out of it. So some of the questions that I'd sent to you, Doc, because I really wanted us to be able to, attack it. And I love that you brought up Maslow's hierarchy, right? It's getting a lot of, and you've mentioned it on my show a few times since you've been on the show, that there are levels to this thing, right? And if you are the person, because even before, I could tell you this. I mean, doing this show is a blessing. And sometimes you find that you're in a space you can help, and most times you find that you can't, that these things are above you. You can just forward people to those who you think can help them.
Right.
And I think that's one of the greatest tools with this job, is that I know now I've been afforded to know a lot of people and a lot of things in terms of resources. So you can always forward people to certain resources, right? Yeah. But before COVID-19, and even before Dorian, there were people who were struggling with paying their rent, people who were being evicted, etc. Dorian created a whole new housing crisis, right? I remember before COVID, actually, no, during this process, I had a guest on, and she said that she had to go and pick up a family of 7 who were in their Jeep, who were in Abaco, from Abaco, but here in Nassau, and got evicted because there were no more jobs. COVID-19 had, taken their income. Right. The husband was the sole provider. There's no more income, and the landlord then evicted them. So they were living in their car as a family of 7, kids, grandmother, couple. And this lady had to go and, grab them. And these are the things that people are facing every day. And it isn't, one of the challenges is, and I want to get your thought on it, because I think that it's not just, I wonder what it's like if I were to end up, my husband and I were comfortable, our children are comfortable, right? We're not rich by no means. We're like working up that class to get to middle, right? We're working. But we're okay. Right. What would happen if both of us found ourselves without any income? The mortgage has to be paid and we don't have the tenant, right? If we end up losing everything and our children are in a car, at what level of stress am I at now? What level of stress could I possibly be at? Then I have to stand on a line at NIB that I never thought I'd see myself in. Then I got to go to social services, and they will probably tell you, some of them are rough. They probably tell you, listen, you're a little too high dressed. You remember some of them used to say, you look too good. Yeah.
So you have to go there looking needy to get assistance?
Well, maybe you look too right.
Okay.
But I found that, how does it work with someone in this space when someone finds themselves on a totally different financial spectrum than they were before?
If there was a scale for it, and let's say the scale was 1 of coping well, 1 of not coping well to 10 of coping brilliantly at this time, I think you would see an immediate drop from, let's say they were on an average basis at 8. you'd probably see this person go all the way down now to a 2 to 3, because it's the intensity of the trauma for that person, the intensity of the change. We as humans don't deal very well with change. We like to say we like change. Like, you know, we want new government, we want new roads, we want new members added to the family, but it takes us a while to get adjusted to these changes. So one of the things, if I would have, to these people who are dealing with that now, I can't even say it's not happening, who are dealing with that right now, you have to admit, and I think this is where it goes back to those realistic coping mechanisms. You have to release those pent-up emotions right now. With just that frustration is the first thing of what it's like to lose that, especially when you live in a culture that talks a lot about haves and the have-nots.
Yeah,
that is a reality. You can't keep distracting yourself as if this is not the reality right now. You are probably managing some hostile feelings. You are trying your best to get through it, but you're not okay. And that is okay.
Mm. We have a call on the line now. Caller, you're on the hit back. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, thank you very much. Kandia, not Kandia, Natasha.
Yes, how you doing?
Hey, Natasha, top of the afternoon to you.
Same to you, my brother.
Natasha.
Go ahead.
Natasha.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Mr. Wonderful. I want you to know that I very appreciate the way you come on and the things. I'm shooting right now.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Okay, Natasha. I listened to you the other day on Tuesday. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Keep on talking. Don't stop.
Okay. I listened to you the other day, Natasha, and when you told me about this girl, when you told me about this girl, that you said that, I met two beautiful girls. One worked for Atlantis and one worked for Bahama. And listen, Natasha, it's so disastrous the way these girls have to sacrifice their lives. And I don't want to say it on the air, but I want you to know that these girls are out there suffering, and I'm very upset with the government, NIB, and all these people, that these people cannot get their finances set. And I wouldn't talk about the NIB down there at the sports center the other day. But I want you to know that you are doing such a significant job in getting the message out there. And when you released that speech the other day, I was so proud of you because you let them know exactly what they have to know. Now, this is Mr. Wonderful. I know you don't know me right offhand, but everybody knows Mr. Wonderful because I'm from Power 104.5. So I want you to keep up the good work and stay sticking in there. And I want to come and meet you and have a good word with you and to come on your show. And most of all, I want to get with these guys from these building companies and premium porters and all these people so we can help some of these people to get some food and some things. And I'm a promoter and everything, so I want to get that moving and get that going and to make sure you and Michelle Malcolm knows me very well from Sedness. So I want to get that going together and see if we can get something going for these poor people.
Thank you, Mr. Wonderful. Definitely. I appreciate your call and your support, my friend. And when this whole COVID mess is done, definitely we can meet. Thank you so much, Mr. Wonderful. Appreciate the call. We got some text messages here. Hi, Nahaja, your guest is so right. Back in the day, we got along so well because we shared with our neighbors. Sometimes we had as much as 5 plates of food. Mm-hmm. So we have to go back to those good old days. Definitely it's a shift. Yeah, it's going back to believing that, I guess we made too much money and we could afford our own creaming. I don't know what it was.
And I thought about that this morning. I went into the backyard to pick some avocados off the tree.
Wait, time out. You know you can't just inbox me. We got to talk about that on the other side of the break. Go ahead, finish your thought.
And so I thought about the fact that, well, how we got our tree. And the neighbor was, he has a tree, and he, as he gets, he would give. And then I guess he cut a piece of his tree at one point to give us so we could plant our own. And even to this day, he knows that we still have certain things, but he will still give. And I think to myself, I know we're all capable of doing it. There are times where you could see a pot of rice cooked in the house, and I have a client who would say, yeah, when my parents cook food, still up to this day, they have to share out enough for these people, and we can eat something off of it. But we have to do that because that's how we live. And I think we're capable even now with a little bit to do that.
We have a call on the line. Call, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. So the thing I'm hearing all this talk, right? I mean, we're living through a serious, real reality, a new reality that we're still coming to terms with, trying to get a grip on. But the mismanaging is making that very challenging by our superiors, or those whom we elected to give the responsibility to deal with the unforeseen.
You're right. They add to the stress. Keep going though. Sorry.
So the thing is, right now, right, the answer and the solution is not as hard as we are making it to be. Although the way we have been taught, the education system has basically programmed our minds to not really see the solution and how easy the solution is. I'm not talking about the COVID-19. That's something, a force of nature, whether architect by man or by nature, that right now we're struggling to deal with. But we have our protocols on how to manage ourselves with this if we act responsibly. Financially, the world leaders and all these top IQ people with such understanding about mathematics and equations can't seem to figure out to use numbers to money in the right way. And that is using the positive side of numbers in the application to numbers, in the application to money, and not using it negatively. Okay, time goes forward. Time uses numbers. And we are running away from this thing. All the resources that we need to build a home and everything else comes from the earth. We're not getting these resources from another planet. And the tools that we need are ourselves and whatever things that we make with the resources that come from the earth. Money and the way man has programmed us to understand money is a hindrance from us going out and saying, look, there's dirt outside, there's a piece of property, I can clear it, I have the right to clear it, and I can build. Okay? Yeah, we have laws and all that saying, okay, you need a permit and all this and other things, but all these things are doing is hindering human progress. This is a free planet that we live on. There's no other supernatural being coming to us and taxing us. Humans are taxing themselves inappropriately. Okay?
Yes.
We have land on planet Earth. This is a free planet. Okay?
Let me add to your point. Now,
Yes.
Are you familiar with Dr. Olivia Sanders, Bahamian author and economist?
No, ma'am. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just a free thinker. I try not to read too much of what other people say.
Well, the reason why I wanted to share with you that is that she has a book called Tomato Economics, Dr. Olivia Sanders. Her premise is the exact same thing. This economic model of managing scarce resources, because that's what this present economic system is, that they tell you that it is the government or the ability to manage limited or scarce resources. And her premise is that's no such thing, that it is really to constrict the global economy and to make people paupers. And her idea is the same, that, look, how is Africa as a continent struggling to be, where you have so many African countries that are struggling to be, when they're the most resource-rich country in the world? They have the resources, and we have the resources, and there are systems that made governments and people, managers of those systems, to tell us that we have to ask permission for it. So I think you're on a wonderful, I agree with you on that. It is a revolutionary thinking.
They are ignoring the obvious elephant in the room. We make money. We make money the same way you make a deck of playing cards.
Yes.
Playing cards have numbers on them. They have faces on them. They have designs on them. They make money and make designs on them. They have, by choice, now have chosen to take a certain group of money, which is the coin, the penny, and say, okay, this no longer has value. Well, then let me take up a conch shell and say this is worth $1,000 then. Okay, since you can decide now that the penny has no value, well, then now this rock is worth $1 million. What is wrong with us? We're taking something abstract that you cannot touch. You're taking numbers and saying this now is worth 100. How can we prove that anything is worth anything? We need to live as humans with intelligence on this planet and stop enslaving ourselves. Okay, we have as a planet and as human beings living on one planet, we have a chance to turn this entire planet into something very beautiful. But instead,
well, you know what? I want us to. This will be a conversation, caller. This will be a conversation I'll have again, in depth for sure. And because I believe that Dr. Saunders is definitely one of those people who share exactly what you're thinking, and she's put it in with great information and resource all there. So I'll have that discussion on another show. But I don't want to stray too far.
Misled by the education.
Yeah, I don't want to stray too far from the point of this show today. But I will definitely, and I get your point on this, that, hey, we are stressed out because we're living in a system that isn't real. But
cool.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the call, and I love the contribution there to that. I think we may have, thank you so much. I think we may have another caller. If we do, then we'll go to a break and then come back with Dr. E. Caller, are you there?
Yes, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
Yeah, I see you getting ready to go for your break, so I'm going to be brief. I like that caller. I would really like to hear more of that caller on some in-depth conversations and on some other issues of national importance. He's the type of person I like to hear speak. Now, Doctor, my reason for calling, my name is Amos Junior Miller, okay? And for 50 years, I'm 50 years of age, just turned 50 on the 2nd of June, okay? And growing up, being born in this country and growing up in this country to single parent, a mother, father left my mother when I, was small and leave and never came back. So I'm one of those Bahamian men who grow up tough and rough and tough. When you fall down, you were told by your mother, not a father,
get up.
And stop crying, stop being a crybaby. And after many years, we get older and we have to comply with the law of the country. And of course, many of us, including myself, miss the bus, okay, or miss that school on that day, all right? And it was no fun growing up then, being one of those persons to be labeled who missed the bus, all right? Okay, and now we get older still and find out we are so rich and we have intelligent, smart people who want to continue to be intelligent and smart, but off the backs of their own neighbor, who they themselves grew up with as poor like slaves. Okay, now all of a sudden we have them grow up and they want to get rich off your things. See, I'm a bright person. Auckland's people are bright. And we grew up.
Right.
I watched my grandfathers them work.
We gotta go to break, so I want you to get to your point before I have to go.
How do a person like me cope? If you know Amos Junior Miller from being on the airwaves, how would you help me to cope with the deceit and the dishonesty, the lack of integrity, and just blatant lying in the country? And you have to live by it, and if you don't live by it, they're ready to lock you up if you have a different mind. And so, as relates to people acting out.
All right. So how do you cope? That's the question. How do you cope? All right. I'll have her answer that at the end of the break. We have to take our news break. When we come back, more with Dr. E. The question Amos asks is, how do you cope? Right? How do you cope with people who just lie to you? I say get rid of the friends. Don't listen to them, and if they lie, don't listen. And but mine is too simplistic. That's why we brought Dr. E to the show. You're listening to the Hit Bag with Nahaja Black. When we come back, more with Dr. Drika Richardson here. It's how do we handle the stress, this COVID fatigue? And, you know, I, I like my caller before. Sorry, Amos, not being personal, but the caller before had some excellent points. If you are talking about the systemic or systematic issues that lead us to this place today, but that's not just it. We don't want to talk about that one particular. You're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Dr. E live here on Guardian 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Good afternoon, Bahamas. You're listening to the Guardian News Network. I'm Taylor Ferguson. Here's what's making news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just days after finding out he tested positive for COVID-19, opposition leader Philip Davis is being airlifted to Atlanta, Georgia, to continue his treatment. Another member of parliament has tested positive for COVID. Hank Johnson, member of parliament for Central and South Eleuthera, confirmed in a statement Thursday morning that he received a positive result and is currently hospitalized in New Providence. He is thanking the medical staff for their skilled and detailed care. Earlier this week, PLP Senator Dr. Michael Darville also tested positive. Police officially launching the COVID Command Center today at the Cable Beach Police Station. The launch comes in the midst of a second, more aggressive wave of COVID-19. Police are monitoring those in quarantine through the mobile app Hubcat, but that monitoring does not include COVID-positive patients. It only covers those in quarantine from exposure or following travel. Police are alerted if the person being monitored breaches the geofence. Dean also addressed concerns about people trying to manipulate the system, doing things like leaving their cell phones at home. He said everyone in quarantine is required to sign a form agreeing to certain stipulations. Laundromats reopening today for the first time since the start of this latest lockdown. The lines and loads of clothes, a clear indication of the eagerness to get in.
We're getting ready to walk naked. That's how much clothes some people have, and some of us, we were out here like from 5 o'clock. Yeah, when I pull up here, I was like, hold on now. And I was thinking I was so early. And this yard was full. We were on the line from behind the building.
That's what's making news. I'm Taylor Ferguson. AP News is coming up next.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Coronavirus update. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Former Vice President Joe Biden delivers his acceptance speech this evening to the Democratic Party's presidential convention. Last night, former President Barack Obama said President Trump has not seriously addressed the coronavirus pandemic.
For close to 4 years now, he has shown no interest in putting in the work, no interest in finding common ground, no interest in using the awesome power of his office to help anyone but himself and his friends.
Trump staged a campaign event this afternoon not far from where Biden was born in Pennsylvania.
At stake in this election is the survival of our nation. It's true, because we're dealing with crazy people on the other side.
Uber and Lyft say they will continue ride-sharing services in California after a state appeals court granted a stay of a state law requiring the companies to treat their drivers as employees rather than contractors. I'm Tim McGuire.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Everyone, we got a lot of questions here today. How do you deal? Well, I don't know. I mean, Amos's question was definitely a question. So I'll see if I can, Dr. E.
I got
very
it down.
specific. Yeah. You got it?
Yes. I think his question was, how do you cope when those people you've known your whole life or known around you have used you to take away the resources you have to use it for their own gain? How do you deal with people who have very little integrity, who aren't honest? And the first thing came to my mind is that I don't know if those people deserve a place in your life, because I think I take respect very seriously. And if a person has shown you that they can't respect you on a level of just being honest with you about what they're doing, and I'm sure at some point Amos would have probably said to this person or to, I don't like how you're doing this or whatever like that, and the person disrespected that boundary that he put in place, then this is why I don't think that person you need to be around them. Because what he did say was that sometimes when you grow up around people and one person like excels and the other person doesn't, they look at the other person who didn't excel the same way as if they are less than, that they could take advantage of them. And it's sad to say that does exist. There are people who are very unkind, uncouth, and those are people that you have to set your boundaries with. So how do you cope with them? One, let's first admit to yourself that maybe those people are not good people, because we don't like to say people are not good guys or good girls. Like we have this thing in our head that we want to rush past that. So you have to admit that to yourself first. Two, you need to if you still engage with them after you admitted that, you have to say to yourself, well, then it's on me. I am the reason I've allowed this to happen to me or continue to happen to me. Then another thing you could do to start coping with this is to start to forgiving yourself for what you might have allowed to go past its time. And so those are three things
That's interesting.
You probably should start with.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, Dr. Adrika Richardson here with us on the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We're talking about mental health, y'all, COVID fatigue. And we have some folks on YouTube who've been sending their questions, and there were some interesting ones. Are you ready for these Dr. E?
I'm ready.
All right. Someone says, Nahaja, you mashing my corn. Everything comes before myself. I'm still telling myself I soon focus on myself. There are so many urgent and important things going on in my life. What would you say to that person? Are they struggling at this point? They're struggling to find time to deal with themselves. What do you tell them in the meantime whilst they're trying to out these fires? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that one, if you admitted that, then you need to stop right now and rethink and reprioritize. While you put out the fires can only go out with you. And if you aren't functioning, there's no way the fires are going to go out. All you're going to do is probably try to cover it up, and it's going to get bigger. So you're going to have to stop for a moment and regroup and reprioritize. And if that means just taking a break for a few hours and not focusing on it or trying to strategize how you're going to deal with it, that's giving yourself back some time. So we always think of grand things to do, but sometimes stepping away is the first thing you can do. And guess what? When you step away, you will tap into your internal resources that will give you better strategies to deal and actually put out the fires faster. But we get in it, and then we get in this kind of cycle in it, and then we don't know how to get out of it because we can only see completion, but you can't get to completion without clarity. How do you get there? So that's one of the first things I would tell that person to do. You got to reprioritize. It's a lot of fires, and at the end of the day, they can't get fixed without you.
I love that. They can't get fixed without you. I got a gentleman here saying, I'm a male. Does the pandemic heighten sexual desires for other women other than your spouse? Says, what about trying to cope with pornography? That's a challenge that he's being faced with.
I'm trying to understand the question, meaning like, does it give him permission to want to?
I don't know. He's saying, I don't know. He has desires for other women other than his wife. I don't know if is that a stress related thing?
Not that I know.
You've never heard of it, eh?
You know what? So I want to address this real quick. last week they had in the paper how marriages in particular there's an increase in divorce. And I'm going to address that particular point. But what this guy is saying is, I don't know if COVID is to blame. I'm tired of people blaming COVID for some of the things that have existed before COVID happened. So yes, you know what people tend to do? People tend to use sex as a distraction mechanism for when they actually need to deal with stuff. So he may be right in the fact that now maybe he's finding an increase in his sex drive or wanting to be a little bit more promiscuous, because when we do get into back to the survival thing, we just think about our needs very, very fleshly. Like we got to get this fulfilled. So you see a lot more promiscuity happening. So I don't think the women are just in particular maybe looking at him more. And maybe pornography is his way to escape. That might be his addiction tool right now. So
that's interesting.
So I don't want us to use these
COVID-19 as the great excuse.
Yeah, because
I mean we blame COVID-19 for everything else. I mean, why you know?
Again, blame, but okay, let's talk about the marriages thing. Unless there's
go ahead. Go ahead.
So the article talked about the fact that marriages are on the rise and it must be due to pandemic.
Divorces, right? Divorces are on the rise.
Sorry, divorces are on the rise because it must be due to the pandemic. As a therapist, that is not accurate. What is the accuracy is that what COVID has done is that it has made us more all accountable for us in the relationships. And because some of us were being so distracted by work, by activities, by everything else we could put in front of our relationships, we didn't have time to focus on them. So what COVID did was it made sure we all had to stop and look at them. And what you realize is that maybe the person you married wasn't the person you thought of. And you can't pretend anymore because you've been in the house together for 4 months and you don't really like them. Or you don't really like you with them. Whatever it is. Y'all, I'm on the side of COVID right now. Stop blaming COVID for your marriage issue.
My Lord.
COVID. I think right now also COVID has brought out the truth at a lot of infidelities right now too.
Right.
Because the secrecy, the you hiding stuff, when you're around somebody all the time, you can't hide that stuff anymore. You can't hide you. And we are blaming COVID for now the truth revealing itself. I think what COVID has done is put all of us, they put a mirror to us and us and ourselves, us and our relationships, us and our families, us and our priorities. So the divorce rate is up because we failed to deal with our relationships all along. And now we don't have a choice. And what you may have realized is that you might have not made the best decision.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, Dr. Adrika Richardson here on the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Okay, Doc. So what we also had is someone says, good afternoon. Not everybody has land to plant food. There are many people who would love to plant food, but they get, I don't know. Do we mention planting food?
No, I think they were talking about the fact that my neighbor brought a tree over and we put it in the yard. Maybe.
Okay. Yep. Maybe. I didn't remember it. So I don't know. So I have some questions here. But when we.
Wait, and let me ask that person. You don't have to put food in the ground to grow it. There are a lot of people right now who are building boxes, planters boxes in which you can grow food. And you could do that just by having some space. You could put it inside, right outside a door. Yeah.
And it's therapeutic. I think a lot of this backyard farming is proving to be quite therapeutic for a lot of people. And like you said, you can just get a planter's box, go to the Ministry of Agriculture, do something different and new. Yeah. I wonder in terms of strategies, coping strategies, but we'll get to that in the second half of the final segment, coping strategies, right? I'd asked earlier, and I think we did answer this question, what effects does a pandemic or lockdown do to our mental health, right? And I think we covered it, but if there was a part of it that, because I didn't ask that question directly, but in terms of that answer, what would you say?
I think right now, what it does is that this is where our resiliency comes into play, because over time, our mental health is being worn out. that even us who are mentally healthy or try to work on our mental, so we consider ourselves to be mentally healthy, our old coping mechanisms don't work anymore, because now we're at a place where the normal things we do to distract ourselves, like or for self-care, like you said, go and get a massage, or going to maybe get your nails done if you're or someone who enjoyed that, or just going for a beach, going to the beach and putting your foot in the sand. We can't do those things anymore. So I think what we have to pay attention to is that, are we starting to regress in our own behaviors? Maybe you are not eating very well. I always use that one because we some of us have a really bad relationship with food. We neglect it or we overuse it. Some of us don't sleep very well. So we have anxiety right now. Some of us might be dealing with little depressive symptoms. And I want you guys to differentiate COVID symptoms from real life, all the time symptoms, if that makes sense. And if you notice you're experiencing these now as a result of the last couple months, you were probably correct, because things have changed in your world and how you would have normally coped. So you can't maybe handle them the way you used to, or you have to think outside the box with how to cope with them. So what effects does it have? Our work productivity goes down. Our relationship productivity goes down. Our familiar interaction goes down. So every aspect of our lives that people tend to say matter to them starts to deflate. Those are some of the effects.
Okay. What about relationships? We're finding now that, of course, like I think about the fact that my kids have been home since March, right? And as a parent, I struggle with the fact that I don't know if I've been a good enough parent to them during this lockdown, because I don't know how to deal with them not having those interactions. Like, this is a summer where they're not in summer camp. They're not, they're family members, they're little cousins and whatnot. There's no sleepovers. My daughter, she turned 9 and there was no party. Well, she never gets a big party, but it wasn't as many family members who would come and friends who would come and celebrate at her house. And they're always saying we're bored and they want to go back to school. As a parent, even, I'm wondering sometimes, how is this affecting my children? And I don't, I know you're not a child psychologist here on this one, Doc, but based on your training, what would you say to parents who are trying to figure out how is COVID affecting their children, if it's affecting them at all?
Yes, it is affecting them, for the fact that they are complaining about their socialization. They are complaining about the fact that they can't just go outside or in their neighborhoods and play in the parks. It's affecting them because they're tired of sitting at an electronic device to learn. So one of the things, and the first thing you can do as a parent, is talk to your kids about what is happening. Some parents have yet to, they'll say, oh, it's a pandemic. Oh, it's COVID. Does a child actually know what that means? Did you take a moment to sit back and say to them, hey, I know I've said to you, COVID's happening, or there's a pandemic right now, you can't go outside. Do you understand why I'm saying that? Let me explain it to you. And again, you could do this from the youngest to the oldest. I've done this with my 3-year-old niece, okay? Because she said to me after last week, she said, Auntie, could you bring me some McDonald's? And I said, well, McDonald's is still closed because we're still dealing with the COVID. Okay, that's right. We can't let that catch any of us at 3. So what I explained to her first when this happened, and I said to her, right now, there is something going around that's making a lot of people sick. Very kid language. She understands with being sick. She has a tummy ache, so she could tell you when she's not feeling well, or just saying it's not good right now. Mightn't be complete sentences. And so I said, there's a lot of stuff going around right now that is making people sick. And so the only way we can protect you is we have to do a couple things. We have to stay inside. So they had to close the parks. They had to close the McDonald's. They had to close Minchie's, because we like to go there.
Oh, hey, love that place.
And I said to her too, and if we do go outside, when it gets a little better, we could go outside. You have to wear your mask, okay? And she said, okay, all right. So she that's the first week. Couple weeks later, that makes sense, right? Because not too much questions. Then it's like 2 weeks. Annie, can we go to the park? And I said, you remember? And she said, oh yeah, people are still, I said, yeah, it's still happening. And
but it's now 4 months in.
Right. And so then she says to me, okay, so what I started to do is weekly, I would try to go over and do some playing with her. So what parents could do, have you played with your kids? Have you gotten down to the level and played with them? Maybe you don't understand the games. Trust me, I had to download the game on the Xbox that I like to play. So we could play together with my nephews because they want to play Fortnite and other stuff that I don't even understand.
Roadblocks.
And I'm sitting there like, let's download Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or Mario or Sonic. I know those things. And so we came to a compromise. Sometimes I'll play their games. Sometimes they'll play the games with me. But we're engaging that way so they can have some other socialization. They will talk to their friends on those headsets because usually that's what they like. But are you spending time engaging with your kids to give them different type of socialization? Maybe y'all decide to do a craft project around the house or color for them for like 30 minutes. Their attention spans go with their ages. It won't be as long as you think.
You're right.
Yeah. So those are some things you can do. Prepare them now. School is about to start in 4 weeks. So we got to get you back into a routine. So say to them, we're going to start with 2 weeks, like at least 2 weeks before. Start with them with their bedtime routine. Start doing that with them. Normalize that. Ask them about what kind of stuff do they think they want to do this year in school, even if it's virtual initially. What things do they think they may need? I've seen parents get the kids involved in setting up the space that they're going to work in. So it becomes a little fun project together. But if you notice your kids getting out of sorts, their attitude is a bit more, maybe they are not eating well, sleeping well as well. Some of the same symptoms you'll see in adults, you'll start to see with kids, but they usually do it regressively. They're not going to talk about it. You'll see it out in their behaviors. So those are the things to look for, but those are also some things to do as parents and explain to them about resources. We had to talk to the kids about wasting food. This is not a time to do that. Or it might not be choices. You know how we have to think about 2 meats? I still don't really get that, but now you might only be able to have one option. You know how some families will cook 2 and 3 things for different kids. Maybe you now have to explain to them, we all have to agree each night on what we're going to do.
Well, that sounds like a 2-meat family. I was never that 2-meat family. You don't have them all that up. We got a call on the line. Caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Nahaja.
Good afternoon. Thanks for holding, man. I apologize.
There's no problem at all, Nahaja. Just enjoying the conversation. Good afternoon, Doc. How you doing?
I am good. Good afternoon.
I must say, Nahaja, I enjoy when you push the envelope. This conversation this evening, this
Jeff, did we lose you?
One that I totally enjoy. And it's one that I love to engage in as well. Here's my couple points here, because I know we are pressed on time. The COVID, yes, I agree some persons are blaming COVID for a whole lot of things, but here are some things that we can acknowledge. Firstly, persons are getting married, they're spending, although the social distancing is in effect, but it now brings persons together, whereas we've seen also last week as reported that there are also an increase in divorces as well. Persons who are only able to be around persons in chunks and everything is fine, but when you immerse them around them 24/7, then they discover the chaos. Likewise with children. Children are right now, my biggest thing on radio, as you know, Nahaja, I always speak about the after effect of this COVID, what's going to happen afterwards. We have PTSD that is very much present today. And I'm still praying that the medical professionals in that field will prepare themselves to see an increase of persons coming in with the various symptoms of PTSD. And in closing my remarks, Nahaja, all of us are looking forward to a better Bahamas beyond the point where we left it pre-COVID. And so I believe that going forward, with us being each other's brother's keeper and, looking out for each other, I think it is very important that we support each other in this effort because it is something that we have never experienced. And I'm only hopeful that it would have brought us a whole lot closer to recognize that we are each other's keeper and just continue on supporting each other in whichever way that we can. And I thank you very much for taking my call this afternoon, Nahaja. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate the call. You wanted to add anything to that, Dr. E?
I think he's right. Like, we just again have to notice that we're all going through this. Even I saw glimpses, because when I see the video, I can hear my mom with the videos, and I'm like, I'm gone to the next room. When I see like the panic and stuff that people had yesterday with getting to the grocery store and stuff, I just want to remind everybody right now just to be a little nicer to the person next to you, because everyone's dealing with it, and I know we're all a little frustrated. So just think about that before you respond to them, or you respond harshly. Yeah, because we all on edge right now. I think everybody is at a place where they are a little bit just not okay. So let's think through that before we get to any type of inhumane or violent acts.
Uncertainty. What does uncertainty do to your psyche?
Uncertainty increases anxiety, because anxiety is the fear of the unknown, the worry. And so that's what uncertainty is. You're not sure of how to plan for. And so what it does to your psyche over time is that if battery, please charge. If anxiety is not dealt with over time, that it could actually lead into a full-fledged, of course, anxiety disorder, but it makes you a little bit more cautious. It makes you a little bit more hypervigilant at times. It makes you, of course, worry more. It may cause you to kind of create distance relationships, and the fact that people don't always want to be around anxious people. Like it's enough stuff to worry about, so it's going to create that issue. Uncertainty is going to cause panic, and so I think I'm assuming where this person was going with that. We have had a lot of uncertainty lately. We've had mixed messages. We've had very little apologies. We've had very little empathy. And I think right now, the only thing we can be certain about right now is uncertainty.
Yeah, that I can tell you, you're right.
Yeah, and I think until the pandemic has subsided, and this is the thing, once this pandemic subsides, we've done with the pandemic per se, but not the effects of the pandemic.
That's right.
We haven't even seen that yet. It's like Dorian. We dealt with Dorian when it happened, but the effects of Dorian is still going on. People still have PTSD. The thought of a storm coming this weekend, people are flared up again. So we see the initial, and then we have to see what's the fallout afterwards.
The initial and the residual, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dr. Drika Richardson, how to cope with with stress and anxiety, this COVID fatigue. What are some of the coping mechanisms that we can come up with that can help to, and you know, as you mentioned, the Maslow's rules or Maslow's hierarchy, I think that's what it's called.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, yeah.
Hierarchy of needs. And I mean, if you start at the bottom, there's some survival basic needs that people need to have, I think, before we can become productive and transcendent. And I think that many of us as Bahamians have stayed in that lower portion of the triangle. And hence the country isn't revolutionary, because we can't transcend our minds. We can't put our minds in the creative sphere of thinking. When you are free of worrying about where you're going to eat, what you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, how you're going to live, until you get past that point, your mind can't tap into its next level of thought. It can't reach into that next space of, you know, and once your heart is not right, you can't get to that place where you are a creative individual, a moving being that's transcendent. And I believe that for too long, we've been stuck in that lower tier as a nation, as a majority of people. But God, now we're being pushed from working class into lower class to straight poverty with this pandemic, and exacerbating issues and creating far more mental fragility than I think we've ever experienced before. But we need to talk about it. We need to know what it is, call it by its name, then address it. And in order for us to get out of this thing not whole, good enough to move forward, it isn't just fixing now the financial needs, but it's about getting back the emotional strength as well. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Dr. Drika Richardson here with us. We got a lot more to discuss. How do we cope now, y'all? It is coping. Avoiding addictions like alcoholism, gambling, pornography. That isn't the best coping strategies when you're stressed. Let's find healthier coping strategies. Let us find healthier coping strategies. And that's what we're going to discuss on the other side of the break. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black live on YouTube. And of course, every weekday here on Guardian 96.9 FM.
The Clearing Banks Association wants to protect you from fraud and cybercrime. That's why they've asked the experts to give you the latest information and alert you to the scams and schemes you may be exposed to through your email and social media accounts. On Wednesday, August 26th, Nahaja Black will moderate the virtual town hall on her show, The Hit Back, on Guardian Radio 96.9 from 4 to 6 p.m. If you have questions, you can call the show at 323-6232. The panelists are Sumitra McKinney from Central Bank, Dr. Raymond Wells from Carapace InfoSect, Chief Superintendent Matthew Edgecombe from the Financial Crime Investigation Branch, and Gamal Nuri, Chairman of the Clearing Bank's Fraud and Security Subcommittee. Tune in on Wednesday, August 26th from 4 to 6 p.m. on Guardian Radio 96.9 for the virtual town hall on fraud and cybersecurity, brought to you by the Clearing Banks Association.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We've got Dr. E here with us, Dr. Edrika Richardson, the one and only, one of my favorite guests who constantly helps me to be smarter and better and all that good stuff, etc. Making sure that I stay, copacetic. This is a quality human being, by the way, y'all. I'm just saying, if I actually had to pay for therapy, I would go to her.
I feel so special right now.
I'm telling you, I love you, man. We definitely, brilliant, knows your stuff, and very accessible. You're very much the type of person that you feel you can trust. And I hope that Bahamians become more people who believe that help is important. Mental health is important. It isn't just, crazy sandal is $50 for the bus, but that mental stability and being aware when we are off center, because you cannot be super productive, man. I believe that the greatest of ourselves is in our peace. Right? When we find that center, you're not always okay. You're not always on a high. You're not always on a, you're not always low. But when you're somewhere balanced and you're able to function, and when things stress you out, you know how to cope with that stress. You know how to adjust. Yeah. You don't do unhealthy habits or find yourself becoming more burdened. And I love how your body, I believe that God is so awesome that when you begin to get stressed, your body tells you. It's a physical reaction to stress as well. And I think that's an indicator. If you miss the psychological indicators, you can definitely feel the physical indicators of stress. So, Dr. E, let's talk about coping. In this pandemic era, I know that we have challenges we're going to be dealing with coping in this. How do we cope? You mentioned some people got bad relationship with food. Me, I just want sweets and I can't have it, okay? It's not, I would eat a chocolate cake every night. What? I would blow up the size of like a one of them giant, what do you call those, the things that float up in the air, the zephyrs?
Okay.
I would be one of those. So tell me now, they call it Zeppelin. Tell me now, how do we cope?
I think, okay. And I'm not saying any of these lightly because people are going to be like, how do you do this right now? You have to do the ones that work for you. I'm going to go through a list. I am not, some of these may be harder than others, especially right now or today. Tomorrow might be easier. So first thing we have to do is what I just said, we have to deal with today. We can't always be dealing with today, tomorrow, and next week and next year. I think right now we have to put stuff into now perspective. What can I handle or deal with right now? Maybe I can deal with the rest of this week. And at the end of this week, then I could start to process for the first half of next week. That's the first thing we have to do. Put things in perspective. Next thing is we got to try its best when possible to keep a positive attitude. People don't think it goes far, but it does.
A positive attitude?
A positive attitude.
I got that down, except like that one today, it was a little off. Keep going though.
We got to accept that there are events that are out of our control. Right now, there are some things that are out of our control, but there are some things that are in our control, and it's how we story the experience in our mind. For instance, something as simple as our language choice. Right now, some people call it social distancing. I call it connecting safely.
Connecting safely?
Connecting safely.
Way to use that play on words.
Because I am choosing, that puts the power on me, first of all, that I am choosing to do this. Because when we think back to the thing when we don't feel like we're in control, then we react that way.
Oh, you know what? I feel that one because I'm feeling like I'm not in control. This is being done to me.
Right.
Right.
But
right.
This is
keep going.
Right. This is being done for you and you're deciding to follow it. This is why language is so important in our experience.
I'm deciding to follow it or else I get locked up. But you keep going. You keep going.
No, you're deciding to follow it so that you can save your resources so that you don't get locked up and you can be a better person to be there for your family.
That was really good. That was really good. Way to write that story. I'm going to keep that narrative. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You want to learn how to eat healthy, like we talked about. I'm not saying don't have your cheat days, but I'm saying every day can be a cheat day. Like maybe you reserve those for 2 days a week or a particular time in the month. You want to exercise. You know why you want to exercise? Because it not only makes you feel better, but it releases good hormones. That's where we get some of that good stuff. You know, like moving around. Think about it. You know, when you go dancing, you know, where you like to go to the club, you think it's just because you like to go to the club. No, when you exert that energy dancing, that's those good hormones coming back released in your system and you feel good.
Right. So I go to the club to get the good hormones and stand around other sweaty people. I'm liking this idea already. This is good. This is powerful. Keep going, Doc.
You want to be assertive instead of aggressive. There's totally different. Asserting your feelings, your opinions, your beliefs. You don't want to become aggressive and defensive or passive. Those are two different things. So assertive, not aggressive. People don't want to be around aggressive people.
I got my hands up, Doc. I got my hands up. Would you say that I'm assertive or aggressive during this pandemic? I want a real answer for my listeners, please. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat it. I want an answer because I'm in therapy.
You are assertive with your beliefs. I think you're aggressive in taking care of Bahamian people.
Oh, that's good. Way to go. Are you trying to, I hope you know, I mean, come on now, Doc. You know you're always coming back. It ain't no wrong answer yet.
No, I'm just telling you. And you know, like one thing I pride myself on is honesty. So I'll tell you when I've been like, no, that don't make no sense today.
Yeah, you're going off the deep edge. Yeah, okay, good. All right, good.
You want to learn to manage your time more effectively. Right now, you don't have to go to the grocery store every day. If you have the monies to buy stuff for 7 days, to hear me when I say this, I'm not talking about the people who can only go when they get the monies. You hear what I'm saying? I'm talking to those people like who have enough groceries in their house for a week, for 2 weeks, then go when it gets halfway in that period. Why would you put yourself in the position? That's not using your time effectively. Maybe instead right now, what you could be doing is catching up on a new series or reading a good book or listening to some music or listening to your show. Those are things you can be doing to use your time more effectively. Are you learning a new skill right now? If you've already gotten those other human resources done, that now you can learn a new skill. This is just some motivational speakers. Those are the things you can do to manage your time. You want to set limits appropriately and learn to say no to requests right now that would create you any excessive stress in your life. So if that means you telling work, I'm working, and when I'm off, you need to do that. If that means those family members who keep calling you every day, don't pick up the phone sometimes. You got to set your limits. You want to make time to get some relaxation and some self-care, and not as simple as 1 hour of just nothing. I'm talking don't pick up your phone. Don't call your friends. don't even move for 1 hour. I did that a few weeks ago, and like that's so big right now, because when you're working or around people all the time, if you could sit for like 1 hour and do nothing, your mind gets to rest.
Yes.
Like,
and that's the next thing, mental rest, like shutting your mind off. Yes. But let's take a caller. We have a call on the line. Caller, you're on the Hit Back. Welcome. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
How you doing, sister?
I'm doing well, and you?
Everything good. I call in here, I listening to your show. I know it. I a bit perturbed today. I see you got a little bubble gum solution going on, but I know that ain't your style. But anyway.
You said bubble gum. What you talking about? Therapy?
I think plenty people need to understand, like, a lot of the transitions. I know if you're familiar with public ops transition pyramid, right? But a lot of people still trying to balance, like, the reality of knowing that tomorrow there may not be a tomorrow. So, see, when I hear the young sister talk, as I see she really in soldier mode, I don't think she understands like how profound the issue is in the inner cities. Because see, you gotta be inside the mud, sister, to understand the suction of the mud. And sometimes I get a bit indifferent when I hear people come with these superficial application of how to solve this problem. I more feel like they get sent out as agents to buffer the status quo, sister. But all I want to say, sister, is I listened to your interview, the brother from the financial sector in the government the other day, and I like how he was putting certain questions to him, like, sister. But, use the fire, and right now we got you to one of the leading voices of the street, right? No bubblegum sound, sister.
Gotcha.
Getting in trouble, sister.
I got you, man. No bubblegum. Well, I want you to know, though. I want you to know.
Sister.
I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, man. I want this to be known with Dr. E. And it's important because I know that in the inner city, man, listen, E Street, man, look here, everywhere in this country, and in particular, certain areas of this country are experiencing things hard, like life and death every day. Like the brother said, you don't know the thickness of the mud until you're in this mud, right? Like you don't know how it sets. You don't know how you're moving, and progress is not a thing that you even understand because it's just the process. Every day is a struggle, right? And you put a pandemic on top of this situation, and it isn't even a struggle because the people who could help you, they don't have a job. They can't help you. So your support system, the way you place, you could have gone to get $1 worth of minutes. Yeah. They can't give you minutes. They can't give you tea bag. They can't do these things to assist and help you. So this is by no means to make it seem as if we can solve heartache and financial or trouble and trauma over the show. It isn't that. We need to be able to cope. And when we said this at the beginning, one of the things that you said, Dr. E, was the Maslow's law, Maslow's hierarchy, right? Which says that the survival stuff, if those aren't being met, then you can't get to even moving into a place where you're not thinking of, where you can take care of yourself.
Right.
Right. So just remind us again, because he may have missed that, because we did acknowledge that there's some fundamental things that you need before we can even get to a place where we can truly have mental healing and emotional healing.
Explain me what bubblegum means.
I don't know, maybe soft and chewy.
Light and,
okay.
All
maybe.
right.
It ain't meaty.
Right. And that's why I said, I tried to say a couple times, this isn't going to be it for everybody at the same time right now, because we're not all at the same place. We are definitely not. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if we're not dealing with our physiological needs, that's food, water, rest, warmth, we can't think about any of these other things. We can't even think about coping right now. We're thinking about survival. That is human nature. The first thing we have to do is figure out self-preservation. Until that is met, then we go to the next need, which is safety and security. So for those people in the inner city right now who are really dealing with that, until they find that they are going to know where their resources are coming from right now to survive for the next week, they can't think about some of the stuff we're talking about, because they have to first figure out what are their resources going to be. Once they have an idea of what that looks like, then they can do some of these coping skills. But let's be honest, when you're thinking about your kids and how you're going to feed them, you thinking about the show?
No, you ain't listening. You ain't listening to this. You're not you somewhere else in the mud, like the brother said.
Right. And so for those people right now, I just want to encourage them to hang on, because I think if people in inner city teach us anything, it's they know how to survive. I think sometimes the people in outskirts need to go to the inner city to learn how to survive. Those are the people I think that have true resiliency. And if you could imitate anything from them, it is that they know how to make something happen. They know how to stand up for themselves as best
right on
they
that.
can. And so if we, on the bubblegum part of it, could teach them anything, is that after you get those resources, then here's some next steps. Because I've heard for some people who are in rooms right now, not households, they only got a room. It's 3 people in this one room, 3 adults in one room, 1 bed, floor, right? And so what I'm telling them right now is, when you can, just get outside for a little bit. Sit outside for a couple minutes. Just sit outside and take a woosah.
But you know what, Dr. E? And that's the thing where I think too, what this has done with some of the laws, just to get outside. When you go to the families who only ever had a 1 room, or the mother who was found, her income declined, and now we in this 1 room, or father who was on TV with all of his children, and the roof is leaking and all of this stuff. And you can't go outside, Dr. E, because they told you can't go outside. So now it is even those techniques, buddy, I was going to break the law. I was outside. I mean,
well,
today,
and this is why I think right now we have to be very conscious of how we are trying to chastise these people for surviving right now. Sometimes, and sir, I'm not as bubblegum as you think, because when I hear some of these officials talk, I'm sitting there thinking, you are only looking at it from your perspective. There is just no way that you can give somebody an hour's notice per se and tell them survive for the next 7 days. How do you do that?
How?
There is no way you think that you're going to tell those people, figure out how to survive for 7 days. And if you come out and try to do anything, they're going to survive. You know what they're going to do? They're going to come out and figure out a way. And you don't chastise them for that, because you were wrong. You did not think about the people, because not all of us have the same means right now. I even like something I saw yesterday where they talked about, just because you live in a nice house, you don't have to be in the inner city. Just because you live in a nice house don't mean there's food in your cupboards.
That's right. That's right.
So I think about all people. I don't just think about the upper echelon, the middle echelon, the lower echelon. I think about all. Right now, we are all at a different level. You talked about the stress meter. We're all in this somehow. Some of us have really nice houses and nothing inside. And the only reason we're still in the house is because the banks are not fully open and they have not come to take away the houses. So we at least have shelter, but we're still trying to figure out how to feed ourselves.
So the stress is there all across the spectrum.
Stress is there across the board. So if one thing we get across in the show is, I want everyone to know that we know that you're not okay right now. We know that this is a daily task for you to survive, for you to feel just okay. And those days when you don't feel okay, I would ask you to reach out to somebody and tell them you're not, just reach out. Even sometimes you don't have to say nothing, because people will start to pick up on it. Those people who are getting the calls on the other end or the messages, engage right now. Put yourself in their position, because we are all in this together right now. We are all going through it at some level. And just curiously ask them, hey, you had food today? Hey, you had water today? Hey, do you just want to talk? These are all things we can help each other with right now. But
Yeah.
because from the nice houses to the not nice houses, somebody going through something. And to that person who this week contemplated suicide, just know that I will be a resource for you, and there's hope on the other side of this. We all want you here right now.
And that's a powerful thing, because I think we don't even realize how many people are struggling and contemplating. If someone, if I'm a family member or a friend, what are the signs that I need to jump in? Like you said, at minimum, reach out, right?
Right.
Who should I, if I'm not thinking about them at this point, Doc, but if there's a group that fits a certain category, that will be the danger zone grouping of people, who would it be in my life? Is it someone who has no kids, has I'm trying to figure out who should I remember? Okay, hold on, I know that type of person. I probably should reach out. They may not have crossed my mind, but now that you said it, they could be in that susceptible zone where I believe anybody could be susceptible to this, but more so.
I think if we had to look at a couple, first would be those strong people around you, the ones who are always there for everybody else. Because usually those are the ones who take on a lot more toll and don't tell anybody when they're struggling. So that's the first person I would tell you to reach out to. The second person I would tell you to reach out to right now is somebody who, you know, they really value stuff right now and they're not getting any stuff. And I'm using that generally. That could be from getting, maybe it's work for them, maybe it's finance for them, maybe it's just socialization for them. Like you know those people who just, they just need to, some type of stuff. I would also say those people right now who may be single and alone. And I say that because if they don't have family members around to reach out to, maybe their family's all in the out island. So we don't even think about that. Because usually one person comes, gets settled, and then kind of move from that. So they're distant or disconnected right now, and the airports are closed. So maybe they can't get, like you said, the minutes from the dollar place so that they could send or have a call with them. Go see if you could check in on them somehow. I don't know I think a lot of, you still can send texts, I've heard, without having minutes or stuff. Check in on those people, because there are people who are, a lot of us are pretending right now to be okay. We are.
Yeah, no, I love that. Listen, we are in a period that, I've never seen it like this before. I pray that we never see it again, but pandemics are a thing of the past, the present, and the future. How we as a people, as a nation, adjust and grow from this will be the thing that marks our manner. I'm telling you for sure. During this though,
right?
During this, Doc, I will tell you that I have never felt such pain from people. I mean, we are hurting from the least to the greatest, but definitely, I always say we got to know that we've never, I don't know how folks are able to sleep well. I'm getting weird dreams now, Doc. I'm getting weird dreams.
We should look at look, every now and then I get some too. Like I think I had one like last week, and I woke up and I was like, what is going on?
But I had one last night.
So we got to be mindful of all these things right now happen. But one of my colleagues just sent me a message and it reminded me, we got to laugh right now too. Like as best as we can. Laughing lets out good endorphins. It helps us release health in our body, like our blood cells and stuff. It helps us like relax.
I need a good joke.
Yeah. Yeah, we need, or that's why I tend to go to Instagram and look at some of the comedians, just because it's so, you ever see that guy who goes around dancing in New York? Like he'll just go around for no reason and he's singing the song and dancing in public. And sometimes I just go watch his videos because that's just so funny to me. Like he's like singing a song. So you can hear the song because he has it, but nobody else can hear it. And he's having the best time of his life.
Listen, we got to go. I can't believe the time has passed already. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Dr. Edrika Richardson. You can reach her 425-0718, or you can go to her, email her at dr.e@rpc-ltd.com. Dr.E dr.e@rpc-ltd.com. Listen, everyone, please take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And it's for your children, for everyone who needs you. You have to make sure that you're able to survive through this and that we get well out through to the other side. Dr. E, thank you so much. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black on Guardian 96.9 FM. See you guys tomorrow. God bless.
Can I say something?